And then we can take a moment to settle into whichever posture we've chosen right now, or maybe you're still choosing from one of the dignities that we've been exploring, the four dignities of sitting, lying, standing, or walking. So you can move around anytime you like, stand up, sit, or lie down. So that might be the first choice that we're considering, how to meditate in terms of our posture. And then within whatever posture we choose, there is obviously a certain embodiment where standing up is going to feel quite different from lying down. And once we've chosen that, then there's a more subtle thing that we might add, a subtle embodiment we might add of perhaps being a little bit more upright. If we're sitting on a chair, it might mean we take our back away from the back of the chair and sit upright on our sitting bones, centered on our sitting bones. Or we lean back a bit more, and that's a choice between a slightly more alert way of being and a slightly more restful way of being. There's other nuances too. And that's one of the sort of more obvious ones. And we're often told to sit very upright in meditation to maintain that alertness. But if we have a certain kind of tendency right now of hypervigilance or feeling a little anxious, then resting back, reclining back, lying back, or sitting back towards the back of a chair may be much more helpful. So make your choice according to how you are. And this is also already then posing the question, how am I? What do I need today for my meditation? So as always, intentions for mindfulness are to be present with whatever is happening without judgment. And that might mean noticing judgment when it comes in, maybe a preference for calm over kind of more hectic mental activity, preference for positive feelings rather than challenging feelings, and so on. So noticing our preference is part of that too. It might help to close your eyes to be more in touch with the subtle nuances of how we are. And or to put hands on the front of our body, maybe the belly and or the heart. And sometimes if there is a lot of emotion inside, that can kind of enlarge it in our awareness, closing our eyes and doing any kind of self-hugging gesture. So if there was something like anxiety or another kind of big emotion that feels a bit too big right now to hold in this way, we can open our eyes and give it a little bit more space by opening up the visual field. And we could rest our hands on the floor on our lap with the palms up, which gives us a slightly bigger sense of our embodiment. We're not just inside ourselves, but we're also connected to the space around us. And then the awareness of how we are gets a bit of a bigger container. And mindfulness is acknowledging how we are, recognizing it, allowing it to be as it is. And then we can choose to make subtle changes through our embodiment, through our practice, practicing cultivating maybe some additional qualities or ways of being that will be helpful in response to how we are. So we can reflect for a moment which embodiments or ways of being might be helpful for us today to practice and cultivate. Simply put, how am I and how do I want to be? And if you have your eyes still closed, you can gently open them, being aware of your space, the light in the room. And then moving your body into that space, you might simply want to stretch, move a little bit, whether you're lying down or sitting, noticing where your body might want to go. And noticing how that is to can be moving. And we can take this awareness of how we are and how we want to be into the next part of our practice. So following on from these subtle ways of being, and this practice by Thich Nhat Hanh from the Blooming of a Lotus gives us perhaps a few more explicit ways to work with our subtle embodiment, also bringing in our mind and our imagination to cultivate different states. In the book, The Blooming of a Lotus, Thich Nhat Hanh writes that this practice can enable the meditator to nourish and calm their body and mind, and to let go and attain freedom. And the different stages encourage a sense of oneness by noticing the breath in the body, and a sense of freshness in our mind and body. And the capacity to stand or sit firmly when we are perhaps upset by vehement feelings, by strong feelings, such as despair, anxiety, fear or anger, because these strong feelings can sometimes carry us right into the heart of a whirlwind. We become like a tree standing in a gale. And if we look up at that point, we might see our branches bending as if they're about to break and be carried away by the storm. But if we look down, we can know that the roots of the tree are held firmly in the earth, and we can feel more stable and relaxed. So mind and body are like that. When there's a hurricane of emotions in us, if we know how to withdraw from the storm, that is, if we know how to withdraw from the turmoil of the mind, we don't need to be swept away. And then the still water reflecting really helps us to make the practice of calming the mind easier. And Thich Nhat Hanh writes, when our mind is not calm, our perceptions are usually clouded, and what we see, hear, and think does not reflect the truth of things. Just as when the surface of a lake is troubled by waves, it cannot clearly reflect the clouds above. And then the final stage of the meditation we'll go through, it's about spaciousness and freedom. And Thich Nhat Hanh writes about that if we have too many preoccupations and cares, we will not have clarity and peace and joy. So the purpose of this part of the practice is to create space for ourselves, space in our hearts and space around us, so that we can release into that space some of the anxieties and projects that might be burdening us. And we can deal in the same way with sorrows and anger, and we can practice letting go of the things that we carry around needlessly, because they can make our life heavy. So even if sometimes it seems we cannot be happy without it, for example, it seems like we cannot be happy without the freedom to go wherever we want in the lockdown, or without the freedom to see whoever we want. We can look more closely and see that this kind of baggage, this kind of weight or burden we might feel, is often nothing but an obstacle to our happiness. And if we can put it down, we have more chance of experiencing joy and happiness independent of external conditions. So as always, it's all a practice. And so we're all going to have moments where we feel we can do this, and we'll have moments where we feel we cannot do this. So work in progress. Checking again with your current posture, whether you are comfortable, at ease. The practice is entitled The Joy of Meditation as Nourishment. So taking that as our intention to enjoy a nourishing meditation. And we can remember our own individual motivations for practicing today, perhaps developing acceptance of how we are. With the motivation to help ourselves to have perhaps more qualities, ways of being more loving, more stable, have more equanimity, more liveliness. Whatever we identified within the question of how we are and how we would like to be. And then bringing your awareness to your breathing. It's helpful to place your attention, and you can place one or both hands there too, just below the navel. Hatha yoga practitioners might know it as Svadhisthana chakra, the sacral chakra. Martial arts practitioners as the hara. And both those expressions refer to the dwelling place. Calming dwelling place in the center of the body, low in the belly, close to the base of the tree, using the metaphor that Thich Nhat Hanh uses. And allowing our belly to move freely there with the breath, expanding on the in-breath, releasing back on the out-breath, which might take a bit of practice. Going to deepen our breathing in a helpful way, in terms of sending the breath down to the lower parts of the lungs. This in itself can be calming. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. In, out. Following the breath all the way in, following the breath all the way out. And being with your breath in a light way. So your mind is resting on your breath, like a feather floating on a stream. Very lightly being with your in-breath. Very lightly being with your out-breath. Breathing in, I see myself as a flower. Breathing out, I feel fresh. Flower, fresh. On the in-breath, connecting our mind to the image or the idea of a fresh spring flower, perhaps a bluebell, a bright tulip, small flowers that are carpeting the floor of the forests locally right now. And as you breathe out, connecting with the idea of freshness. Flower that's just opened up. Maybe with the freshness of the morning dew and the sunshine on it. Or a spring shower. Breathing in, imagining we can have that same spring-like freshness. Breathing out, relaxing into that idea, being like a fresh spring flower. Breathing in, I see myself as a mountain. Breathing out, I feel solid. Mountain, solid. To see ourselves as mountains, it may be helpful to emphasize the connection with the earth, our solid base. You may prefer to stand in yoga's mountain pose. Or imagine your head growing, moving towards the clouds. You can feel the solidity in your bones, perhaps, the weight of your body. Emphasizing stillness, steadiness in your posture. Breathing in, mountain, breathing out, solid. It may be helpful to lower your gaze or close your eyes if you've been looking directly ahead. Breathing in, I see myself as still water. Breathing out, I reflect all that is. Still water, reflecting. You can see if there's any way we can find a bit more ease in our stillness. Water that's not frozen, it's still fluid. It's not rigid like ice. And it's still because there's no disturbance. It's completely at ease. And it has a weight to it. It's not steam. It might help to imagine all the water in our bodies, in our cells, the 70% water approximately that we are, settling in our body. As if each cell in our body has its own still lake, just reflecting the sky, anything around it, like a clear mirror. And the still water of our awareness can reflect any clouds in the sky of our mind, can reflect any emotions and thoughts that come and go. Awareness itself can be still, witnessing capacity of mindfulness, just observing everything with steady calm, allowing it to be just as it is. We can cultivate that even when parts of our mind and body are not still. Awareness itself can reflect all that is, like still water reflecting the sky. Breathing in, I see myself as space. Breathing out, I feel free. Space, free. To practice the embodiment and mindfulness of spaciousness, it might help to slightly open your eyes if they're closed, to be aware of space around you. You might want to turn your palms up and rest them on your knees or the floor by your side. Maybe opening up your posture slightly, taking your arms a little wider. Or if you're lying down with bent knees, straightening your legs. Taking up a little more space. And perhaps cultivating a felt sense or a knowing that our awareness is not confined to our body. Our awareness can take in a lot more than what's inside our own skin or our own mind even, our own thinking mind. Our perception can be much bigger than that. Having a sense of your awareness beyond the envelope of your skin. Your senses open, receptive. Maybe a sense that we are not just our physical body. Our awareness, our mind is bigger than that. It's more than the physical, it's more than our thoughts. There's a sense of spaciousness and freedom to it. Breathing in, aware of space and spaciousness. Breathing out, relaxing into any sense of spaciousness and the freedom that might be part of that. If you're able to. Allowing your body and your eyes to be relaxed. Gaze soft.